Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. On this video, we're going to work on how to create a simple REST API using API Gateway and AWS Lambda. So I'm just going to start by first creating my Lambda function. So if you log into your accounts, just search for Lambda. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to create a very simple Lambda function. Pretty much all that the Lambda is going to do is going to return just a very simple statement. So I'm going to call my Lambda API Gateway test demo. Oh, what's a name? I'm going to select the runtime to be Python 3.13, then I'll proceed to create my Lambda function. This is going to be a relatively simple Lambda function. Alright, so our Lambda function is ready. I'm going to proceed to just update the code. Yeah, so the code change is not going to be pretty much anything huge. It's just the same code we get by default. I'm just adding a couple of things. So yeah, so this is just my Lambda function, and then as you can see, we are not doing anything fancy. We are just returning a couple of things, a couple of headers, and then just proceed to return a body. Hello from Kobe. I'm going to deploy this, and then I'll proceed to test my Lambda function. So I'll click on test. So yeah, so this is the Lambda new UI, right? So I'm going to proceed to create a test event. So I'm going to call it, click on this, and then I'll call it test. And for this demo, we wouldn't change the event or anything. Since you are just calling this thing to return this to us, I'm going to click on save, and then I can proceed to test my Lambda function. So yeah. So as we can see, this is our response. Hello from Kobe, exclamation. And then there we have it. So our Lambda function is ready. I'll quickly move to API Gateway to see how best we can create our REST API. So I'll create an API. For this demo, we have multiple forms. You have a HTTP API, WebSocket, REST, and a REST API private. For our demo, we're going to use the normal REST API stuff. So I'll come in here and then I'll click on build. So I'm just going to call this API, Gateway test demo. My name is not great. The naming is not great, but let's just proceed to create our API. So now we have our API gateway created. So once you have the API gateway created, one of the things you do is to create something we call a resource. So I'm going to start by first creating the resource. See the resource to be just the parts to which you are working with. So if you have, say, a banking system and then you want to track items, you can have your resource name as item and everything. For this demo, I'm just going to, since I'm returning just hello world in our Lambda code, right? Since I'm just returning hello world here, sorry, hello from Kobe here, I'm going to proceed to just create a simple resource and call it hello. Yeah. So yeah, if you are using REST API, right, one of the things you can do is to enable calls here. Calls pretty much allows your web components, right, your web browsers to exchange stuff with the backend and the service online. But for this demo, I'm just going to create our resource, and then we should be fine. So once the resource is ready, you proceed to create a method. So pretty much what the method does is it shows you the kind of operation you want to do, right? So you have a lot of methods. You have from the delete to get, head, options, post, put. For this quick tutorial, I'm going to just do a normal get request. Get is pretty much like what the name represents, right? Yeah, getting something, yeah, returning certain information from the API. So yeah, the integration type is going to be a Lambda function. And then here I'm going to search for my Lambda function. So I think this is it. The second one, API Gateway Test Demo. I select it. So if you look at this page, you have this thing called Lambda Proxy Integration. If I enable it, pretty much what I'm telling API Gateway to do is to structure the request syntax, right, in a particular format that mostly work with Lambda functions. For this tutorial, I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to leave it as it is, and then I'll proceed to create my method. What I want you guys to understand is how to create our API gateway, and then how to use some of these resources. I have a couple of videos where I make use of some of the things I've mentioned by far. Do well to subscribe and then check them out. So now that our method is ready, this is very crucial. Anytime you create or you make changes to API gateways, or you create an API, you have to do something. You have to deploy the API. If you don't deploy the API, you won't be able to access whatever you create. So what I'm going to do is to deploy my API. So I'll come in here and then click on deploy. So in deploying your APIs, you can have multiple stage, right? So I'm just going to create a new stage since I don't have any. And I'm going to call this a dev. So my stage name is going to be dev. Then I'll proceed to deploy my API. So now that my API is deployed, this is my invoked URL. So pretty much what this URL means is we use this URL to access, right? It's like our API URL. So once we have this, we're able to access our method, our resources, and do whatever we want. So I'm just going to proceed to test this out, and then we should be good. Since our API is just a normal API endpoint, one way I can test this thing is to copy my URL and then come into my browser. So now I have my URL, and then because I have a resource called this /hello, I want to access this. And by default, the only method in this now as at this point is just a get method. So once I call it, if everything is configured fine, I should get a response. So there we have it. So we have status code 200, and then I'm returning whatever the Lambda was getting. So this is how you can simply create a REST API to perform a simple get operation. You can play with the other methods like post, put, and update, delete, and all. I'm just going to make some slight changes here, and then we can test it out again. So let me change it to hello Kobina. And then always remember, once you have a Lambda function and make a change to it, you always have to deploy your Lambda function. So now that my Lambda is deployed, if I come to this page and then I refresh, I should see the updated one. So hello from Kona. Thank you so much for watching. This is how easy you can do it. If you want more videos, kindly do well to subscribe. Check out some of our end-to-end tutorials, and it's going to be very helpful to you. See you in the next video.